Hi, this is Mike from birdgazer.net. Today we're going to show you how to assemble a bluebird box kit that is offered on birdgazer.net. You will need a few extra things to be able to assemble this. You're going to get the basic kit, which includes a roof, a bottom, a door front, two sides, and a back. You will have to provide yourself 12 screws, 1 5/8", using yellow chromated or galvanized deck screws. Either have or borrow a countersink bit and a screw bit, magnetic, and you'll have to borrow somebody's cordless drill. You need to borrow or have 2 clamps for assembly. It makes things a lot easier. So let's get started. All right, let's get started with the assembly. Of course, you're going to have your 2 sides, making sure that the door slot is facing to the inside. And you're going to take the back, which has a bevel, and meet up with the angle on the side. So when the roof goes on it, it has a way to slope off and drain water. Okay, let's get to it. I'm going to have to hold this flush to the top, and go ahead and clamp it in place. It's a little awkward, but it's doable. Gotta get it nice and flush on the outside, flush on the top. Okay, now here's the tricky part. You're gonna have to place 2 screws in the back and make sure that you get dead center into the side, which is not impossible. But at the same time, let's avoid this hole right here, because we're using 1 5/8" screws, so we want to make sure that it won't hit it, but we just want to make sure it's away from that area. So I'm going to use a screw gun, which you can borrow or buy, and measure, let's say 2.5 inches from the bottom of the box and 3 inches. 2.5 here. That's good too. Just put some little tick marks on there, and that's your targets. Line it up in the center of the side and countersink the hole. Now I'm running 2 screw guns, so you can use 1, but you just have to change off on the tips. Put the screw in, go to the next hole. And next screw. All right, we can loosen that clamp and switch to the opposite side. Same procedure. I'll do it in reverse here. Get the clamp started. Put some pressure on it. Make sure we're nice and flush. Go ahead and get your handy dandy tape. 2.5 down. 2.5 down. Nice and laid up. I'm going to move this just a hair. Okay, get a screw. Sink it in. Don't sink it too hard or you'll strip the wood. And this one, make sure everything looks good. Screw. All right, back is on. Loosen the clamp. Set that aside. Alright, the next thing is the bottom. The bottom's going to go, obviously, on the bottom of the birdhouse. You want to make sure the drain holes are facing to the back. And that's going to need a little bit of pressure, so we're going to use a screw on it. Sometimes you're going to have to work the wood because wood is wood. It gets affected by weather, moisture, and also the way it comes off the tree. Sometimes something cut from a tree is square, but then it remembers that it was wind torn or it was stressed from something else, and it'll tend to bend back that direction. Okay, so with this we're going to do the same thing. 2 screws, and we'll space them apart just enough to make sure we don't split anything, but we hold the bottom in place. Center it. And since we clamped it, let's do one. I have to move that clamp out of the way. Let's try this. I'm going to have to freehand it here a little bit. Obviously, when you're working, you have to do it within your own comfort zone. If you have to clamp a little more, do that. If you can freehand more, that's great too. Now that should stay in place, so I'm going to remove this, lay it flat. With this guy, got him. Flip it over and get this last one. Now if you want to, you can put a screw in the back, but 4 screws holding the bottom on, it's not going anywhere. But if you feel compelled to, you can actually pilot a hole and put a nail in there too. Now, the next thing is the top. And the top, of course, will go on top. Now with this, the tops provided are going to be just a little hairy, oversized to make sure it covers completely. So what you're going to want to do is get it nice and squared up, even on both sides. And with this, you can probably put one right about here, which is on the second ledge, and then right about here on the second ledge to the back. That's spaced apart well enough. It should hold the roof down properly. Now, this is going to be somewhat tricky. You got to make sure it's on evenly. Get good drippage off of it. And start your first one. Now, I should have had this closer, but oh well. Okay, that's one. We'll get one on the opposite side so it keeps this thing from sliding. Another one. Let's move you guys over closer. And that's 2. All right. Now, we'll do the top ones. And we'll get this one. And 2 screws. That's one squeaky screw gun. And your top's on. So you successfully went ahead and screwed the back onto the 2 sides. you screwed the bottom on and you got the top on. All right, the next thing we're going to do is put the door on. The door will slide into the slots and it should move nice and easy. You might have to tweak the sides here a little bit or sand the door if it's a little tight, but it shouldn't be. You want to leave a little bit of vent hole up there. Line up a screw hole right here, which will get to the bottom to anchor another screw. A little tricky, but it's doable. And this will be where your next screw will be. And you're done. Now, if you lined up the screw hole properly, it should be right in the bottom, which it is. And the last thing you should do is you're going to need 2 pre-drilled holes, one here and one here, countersunk, for hanging screws. Do this off screen here. And sunk one here and sunk one right there. So when the screws go in, they have a place to start and hang on a wall, a post, or a tree. All right. There's your birdhouse that you assembled. You can do this quickly or you can do it slowly. If you're doing it with children, you can go slowly and talk about the different things that you're doing and eventually assemble it and get it ready for birds. Hope you enjoyed it and good luck with your birding.